Certainly a blessing to be out on such a beautiful day, blessing of God, to witness the elevation of Father Dennis Rubiak to the dignity of mitred archpriest. For me to have that privilege of doing so. We recognize his mother here today and some other parents of priests and deacons and or sisters. We're in somebody, I mentioned to somebody I was coming out to Burton, they said, well, isn't that all Amish? And I said, well, there's a little oasis in the midst, and here we are. And when we often realize that, I think we sometimes forget that our church is in the midst of a world that is sometimes indifferent, but oftentimes belligerent. As part of the coverage of the Olympics in London, NBC reminded us of the role played by the British in fending off the invasion of the Nazis in 1940 and 1941. During this time, the United States could only help with supplies and armament, and only those that could get past the Nazi Navy. Prime Minister Winston Churchill stated, "We are fighting by ourselves, but we are not fighting for ourselves alone." How true. This evil regime was poised to conquer the world, enslaving those whom they couldn't kill. And backed against the wall, the British were thrust into a noble cause. The world continues to be in danger. The forces of evil continue to threaten our very existence. The evil one continues to tempt us, as he did in the Garden of Eden. We are continually offered the idea that we can know what is good for us. And we can know that without approaching our God. So often, the lies of evil come packaged in what may be considered obvious truths. We're told to respect individuality without respecting the person. We're told to respect every individual's choices, even if they harm themselves or others. We're told to tolerate the shortcomings of others, even when they could grow beyond themselves. Indeed, respect, toleration are wonderful things, but they're only half-truths. We Christians know that abundant life is available to all if we only open ourselves to it and cooperate with it. The church finds itself in a battle. There are strong forces trying to discredit and, I believe, eventually eradicate the church, claiming that they are working to free humanity from unnecessary burdens. We may echo the words of Churchill. We may be fighting by ourselves alone, but we are not fighting for ourselves alone. In truth, we cannot say we are fighting alone. For we stand on the steadfast foundation of faith, a model of which is the Holy Mother of God, Mary, as we celebrate with the theme of this pilgrimage. Faith. Mary's faith was one of commending herself to God. Be it done to me as you will. But it was also one of committing herself to God, as she told the waiters, "Do whatever he tells you." In almost every icon of Mary, certainly the icon of Mariapoch, she is holding the infant Jesus. Now the word infant comes from a Latin word which means not able to speak. We, like Mary the Mother, must be ready to speak up for Christ, for his words cannot be heard if they don't come from our mouths. We must be ready to stand up for his truth. Today I invested Father Dennis Rubiak with the mitre. This elevation, dignity, acknowledges his priestly service and the priestly service of all of our priests and deacons. He serves as pastor, chancellor, director of vocations. But it also acknowledges and hopes to prepare him for special service. The special service of leading the clergy and the eparchy in its self-study, visioning, and configuring to the will of God. We commend him for his service. We thank him, as we thank all of our clergy. But we commit him as well. And we ask him to continue to commit his life to that service. In order to do that, he must be firmly positioned on this steadfast foundation of faith, just like all of us must be positioned on this steadfast foundation of faith. Building our lives on anything else is like building on sand. The wisdom of the world can only be useful when it cooperates with the wisdom of God that comes to us through our faith. Our church is faced with many challenges. We are faced with the challenge to perpetuate the spiritual heritage of our ancestors. We're challenged to keep our parishes open and to take care of them. But meeting these challenges are part of the spiritual warfare. Our heritage, our Byzantine Catholic spirituality, our institutions and our parishes are our gift from God to further his kingdom here on earth. As the little country of England did their part in stopping the evil forces of the Nazis, so must we now do our part to stop the forces of evil and to help those who may have been tricked into believing his lies, to change their ways. St. Irenaeus said, "The evil done by Eve's faithlessness was remedied by Mary's faith." And St. Augustine said that Mary first conceived in her heart by faith, and then in her womb. The world relies on the sacramental presence of Christ. It is our church that can provide that. We, like Mary, can conceive that, if you will, into the world. But first, we, like Mary, must conceive in our hearts the faith that knows God, that is united to God, that is intimate with God. First, we shall follow Mary's lead by uniting ourselves by faith to him in the heart of our hearts. If we are to do what is expected of us, to allow God's plan to direct the world, to save the world, we must unite ourselves to that steadfast foundation of faith, Mary, the Mother of God. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory to the Father,